There was a woman who disappeared from her ordinary life for 33 days. Not physically. She still went to work, answered emails, showed up to meetings. But energetically, she became invisible to her old patterns. She stopped explaining herself. She stopped performing her desires. She stopped broadcasting her needs to anyone who would listen. And something extraordinary happened. On day 34, without a single conversation about what she wanted, without posting a vision board, without telling the universe her plans, the life she had dreamed of for a decade began materializing around her. The job offer that seemed impossible, the relationship that felt too good to be true, the creative breakthrough that had eluded her for years. All arriving not because she had manifested harder, but because she had finally learned to speak in whispers. You see, what this woman discovered is the most closely guarded secret in the quantum field. The field doesn't respond to your announcements. It doesn't care about your declarations. It doesn't even hear your prayers. The quantum field only responds to the frequency you emit when you think no one, not even you, is paying attention. This is the paradox that destroys most people's ability to create lasting change. They're shouting their desires into a universe that only listens to secrets. They're broadcasting their intentions to a field that only responds to what you would never tell another soul. Because here's what no one wants you to understand. The moment you speak your manifestation out loud, you've already contaminated its frequency. In quantum mechanics, this phenomenon is called the observer effect. The very act of observing a quantum particle changes its behavior. But what they don't teach you is that this same principle governs your entire reality. The moment you observe your own manifestation, the moment you watch it, track it, measure it, or share it, you collapse its wave function into limitation. The woman who vanished energetically understood something profound. She realized that her constant talking about what she wanted was actually a form of doubt disguised as intention. Every time she explained her dreams, she was unconsciously broadcasting, "This hasn't happened yet." Every time she shared her vision, she was transmitting, "I'm still separate from this." Every time she performed her spirituality, she was signaling, "I'm trying to become something I'm not." But when she learned to hold her desires in sacred silence, something shifted. Her energy stopped leaking. Her frequency stopped fragmenting. Her signal became clean, coherent, and undeniable. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. And what you are is only pure when no one else is watching. This is why your most powerful manifestations happen in the spaces between your intentions. In the moments when you've forgotten you're trying to create anything at all. When you're simply existing as the version of yourself who already has what you've been seeking. Not performing it, not proving it. Just being it. Quietly. Secretly. Completely. If this resonates with something deep inside you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement sends a signal to the field that you're ready for more of this frequency. The field speaks in frequencies, not words. And the purest frequency you can emit is the one that needs no audience, seeks no validation, requires no external confirmation. It's the frequency of being so aligned with your truth that you couldn't care less who knows about it. That's when everything begins to shift. But here's where most people get trapped. They mistake silence for inaction. They think keeping their desires secret means doing nothing about them. This couldn't be further from the truth. The woman who learned to whisper to the universe was more active than she had ever been. But her actions came from alignment, not anxiety. from knowing, not needing, from certainty, not seeking. This is what we're going to explore today. The invisible frequency that governs everything you experience. The secret signal that determines whether your reality expands or contracts. And most importantly, how to become someone who naturally emits the frequency that the quantum field cannot ignore. Not through force or performance, but through the profound power of becoming unavailable to anything less than what you truly are. Because here's the truth that will change everything. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And what you are is only revealed in the silence between your thoughts, the space between your breaths, the moments when you stop trying to be anything for anyone, including yourself. The quantum field has been waiting for you to stop talking and start being. Today, you learn how to listen to what it's been trying to tell you all along, in the language it understands, in the frequency you were born to speak, in the silence that changes everything. You've been living inside a frequency prison, and you don't even know it. Every morning, you wake up and immediately begin broadcasting to the world who you think you need to be. You check your phone and consume other people's realities. You look in the mirror and perform an identity that isn't even yours. You speak words that carry the vibration of doubt, lack, and separation. And then you wonder why the universe keeps reflecting back more of the same. But what if I told you that the quantum field has been trying to deliver your highest timeline for years, but your frequency keeps rejecting the delivery? What if everything you want is already here, waiting in the field of infinite possibilities, but your signal is so cluttered with external programming that you can't access what's already yours? This is the harsh truth that most spiritual teachers won't tell you. Your thoughts aren't creating your reality. Your frequency is. And your frequency isn't determined by what you think about during meditation or what you write in your journal. Your frequency is determined by the unconscious signals you emit every moment of every day. The micro-expressions that happen when no one is watching. The subtle energy you carry when you think no one can feel it. The quiet assumptions you make about yourself when you believe no one else is listening. In quantum biology, scientists have discovered that every cell in your body is both a transmitter and a receiver. You are literally a walking broadcasting station, constantly sending and receiving information to and from the quantum field. But here's what changes everything. Most people are broadcasting on frequencies they inherited from their family, their culture, their past experiences. They're not transmitting their authentic signal. They're repeating someone else's station. The woman who learned to disappear energetically made a crucial discovery. She realized that her authentic frequency could only be accessed in complete privacy, not because it was shameful or secret, but because it was so pure, so specific to her unique essence, that any external input would distort its clarity. She learned that her true signal emerged only when she stopped performing for others and started listening to herself. This is why your most profound insights come in the shower, during walks, in those liminal moments between sleep and waking. Because that's when your performing mind goes offline and your authentic frequency can finally emerge. That's when you stop broadcasting what you think you should want and start receiving what you actually need. But the moment you try to capture that insight, to share it, to turn it into content for others, something happens. The pure signal gets filtered through your need for approval, your desire to be understood, your unconscious programming about what's acceptable or valuable. The frequency becomes distorted, and the quantum field can no longer recognize it as authentically yours. The quantum field doesn't respond to borrowed frequencies. It doesn't care about your carefully crafted affirmations. if they're based on what you think you should want, rather than what your soul actually desires. It doesn't hear your prayers if they're performed for others, rather than felt for yourself. The field only responds to signals that are completely, authentically, undeniably you. This is why silence becomes sacred. Not because talking is wrong, but because in silence, you can finally hear your own frequency without the interference of others' expectations. In silence, you can feel what you actually want without the contamination of what you think you should want. In silence, you can access the version of yourself who already has everything you've been seeking. The field is always listening, but it's listening for something very specific. It's listening for the frequency of authentic being. Not becoming, not trying, not reaching, but being. And authentic being can only happen when you're not performing for anyone else, including the quantum field itself. This is the paradox that transforms everything. The moment you stop trying to manifest, you start embodying. The moment you stop performing your desires, you start becoming them. The moment you stop broadcasting your needs, you start emitting your wholeness. And wholeness is the only frequency the quantum field recognizes as real. But how do you access this authentic frequency? How do you find the signal that's purely yours beneath all the programming, all the conditioning, all the inherited patterns? This is where everything begins to shift. Because the path to authentic frequency isn't about adding more practices or techniques. It's about subtracting everything that isn't actually you. The quantum field has been waiting for you to come home to yourself. Today, you learn how to find the frequency that was always yours, hidden beneath layers of who you thought you needed to be. In the silence, in the space between thoughts, in the sacred privacy of your own being, your authentic signal is waiting to emerge. Take a moment right now and comment below with these exact words. I am learning to listen. Don't explain what this means. Don't elaborate on your journey. Don't perform your spirituality for anyone. Just declare this simple truth to the field. Let it be a signal that you're ready to hear what's been waiting for you in the silence. Let it be an interruption in the loop of performing for others and a return to the purity of your own frequency. There's a frequency that exists beneath all your thoughts, beneath all your conditioning, beneath every story you've been told about who you are and what's possible for you. This frequency is so specific to your essence that no one else in the universe can emit it. It's your unique signature in the quantum field, your authentic signal that has been broadcasting since the moment you were born, regardless of whether you were aware of it or not. The woman who learned to disappear discovered that accessing this frequency required a complete withdrawal from external validation. Not because she became antisocial or isolated, but because she needed to create enough space to hear her own signal above the noise of everyone else's opinions, expectations, and projections. She needed to remember who she was before the world told her who she should be. This is the deepest work of manifestation. Not learning new techniques or memorizing different affirmations, but excavating your authentic frequency from beneath layers of adopted patterns. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to borrowed desires or inherited dreams. It only recognizes signals that are completely, authentically yours. But here's where it gets profound. Your authentic frequency isn't something you create or develop. It already exists. It's been broadcasting your highest possibilities since before you took your first breath. The only reason you can't access it consistently is because you've been taught to suppress it in favor of frequencies that others could understand, accept, or approve of. Every time you've dimmed your light to make others comfortable, you've moved away from your authentic frequency. Every time you've performed an emotion you didn't actually feel, you've distorted your signal. Every time you've spoken words that weren't true to your experience, you've contaminated your transmission to the field. Not because these things are wrong, but because they create static that the quantum field can't interpret as authentically you. The return to authentic frequency happens in layers. First, you must learn to recognize when you're performing versus when you're being. This requires a level of self-awareness that most people never develop because it's uncomfortable to see how much of your daily experience is performance. But without this recognition, you remain trapped in broadcasting frequencies that aren't yours. I'm curious, can you think of a moment recently when you caught yourself performing an emotion or response that wasn't genuinely yours? Share that awareness in the comments below. Sometimes recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free from them. The second layer is learning to trust your authentic frequency even when it doesn't make sense to others. Your soul's desires might seem illogical, impractical, or impossible to the minds around you. But the quantum field doesn't operate according to logical limitations. It responds to the vibrational truth of what's authentic to your essence, regardless of whether that truth fits into conventional frameworks. The third layer is developing the courage to act from your authentic frequency without needing others to understand or approve. This is where most people get stuck. They can access their authentic signal in private, but the moment they need to express it in the world, they filter it through what they think others want to hear. This filtering distorts the frequency and breaks the coherent signal to the field. The quantum field is like a tuning fork that only resonates with frequencies that match its pure, undistorted tone. When you emit your authentic frequency consistently, the field begins to match that vibration and reflects back experiences that align with who you actually are, rather than who you've been pretending to be. But authentic frequency isn't just about individual desires or personal manifestations. When you begin broadcasting your true signal, you give others permission to access theirs. Your authenticity becomes a tuning fork for everyone around you, creating ripples of permission for others to stop performing and start being. This is how individual transformation becomes collective evolution. There's something profound that happens in the quantum field when you stop trying to convince it of anything. Most people approach manifestation like they're presenting a case in court, gathering evidence, building arguments, trying to prove their worthiness or the validity of their desires. But the field doesn't operate like a judge weighing evidence. It operates like a mirror, reflecting back the exact frequency you're consistently broadcasting. When you're in the energy of trying to convince, you're automatically broadcasting from a frequency of separation. You're transmitting the signal that you're separate from what you want, that it's outside of you, that you need to somehow persuade the universe to give it to you. But the quantum field doesn't respond to persuasion. It responds to resonance. The woman who learned to whisper to the universe made a discovery that changed everything. She realized that the moment she stopped trying to convince the field of her desires started convincing the field of her. Not through effort or argument, but through the pure resonance of embodied knowing. She became so aligned with what she wanted that there was no separation between her frequency and the frequency of her fulfilled desires. This is what happens when you shift from trying to convince to simply being convinced. When you're no longer attempting to persuade the universe, but instead living from the unshakable knowing that what you desire is already yours in the field of infinite possibilities. This shift from external convincing to internal knowing changes everything about how the quantum field responds to you. But here's where most people get stuck in a loop of spiritual bypassing. They try to convince themselves they already have what they want, while their body is still carrying the frequency of lack. They speak words of abundance while their nervous system is wired for scarcity. They perform confidence while their subconscious is broadcasting unworthiness. This creates what we might call frequency incongruence, and the field always responds to the authentic signal, not the performed one. True knowing doesn't require convincing because it's felt in the body, not manufactured in the mind. When you genuinely know something at the quantum level, your entire being aligns with that truth. Your thoughts, emotions, actions, and energy all broadcast the same coherent signal. There's no internal contradiction, no part of you that doubts or questions. You simply are the vibration of what you know to be true. The woman who learned to disappear energetically discovered that this kind of knowing could only be accessed in complete stillness. Not the stillness of meditation or spiritual practice, but the stillness of being so aligned with truth that there's no internal movement toward doubt, fear, or questioning. It's the stillness of being so certain that you don't need to check if it's working, monitor the progress, or look for signs of confirmation. This level of knowing requires what we might call quantum trust, not faith in something outside of yourself, but trust in the fundamental nature of how consciousness and quantum mechanics intersect. When you truly understand that your consciousness is not separate from the field, that your awareness is woven into the fabric of reality itself, then you begin to operate from a completely different paradigm. In quantum physics, consciousness and matter are not separate phenomena. They're different expressions of the same underlying field. Your awareness doesn't just observe reality, it participates in its creation moment by moment. This isn't metaphysical speculation, it's the foundation of quantum mechanics. The observer effect isn't just about particles behaving differently when observed. It's about consciousness being an active participant in the collapse of infinite possibilities into specific experiences. When you truly embody this understanding, you stop seeing yourself as separate from the quantum field. You realize that you are the field, expressing itself through the focal point of your individual consciousness. Your desires aren't requests you're making to an external universe. They're the field exploring different possibilities through your unique perspective. This realization changes everything about how you approach manifestation. Instead of trying to get something from the field, you recognize that you're exploring what the field wants to express through you. Instead of forcing outcomes, you become curious about what wants to emerge through your consciousness. Instead of performing desires, you become a clear channel for the field's infinite creativity to flow through. The woman who learned to whisper discovered that when she approached her desires from this perspective, everything became effortless. She wasn't trying to manifest anything. She was simply allowing the field to express its infinite possibilities through her willing consciousness. She became a co-creator with the quantum field, rather than a petitioner hoping for approval. But this shift requires releasing one of the most fundamental illusions of human experience: the belief that you are separate from what you desire. Most people live their entire lives believing that their dreams, their perfect relationship, their ideal career, their healing, their abundance exists somewhere outside of them, and they need to somehow bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be. But in the quantum field, there is no gap. There is no distance between you and your fulfilled desires, because everything exists in the eternal now of infinite possibilities. The only thing that creates the experience of separation is your frequency. When your frequency matches the frequency of what you desire, you experience it as your reality. When your frequency doesn't match, You experience it as absent or unavailable. This is why the most powerful manifestors don't spend time thinking about what they want. They spend time becoming the frequency of what they want. They don't visualize their dreams, they embody them. They don't affirm their desires, they assume them. They don't ask for what they want. They give thanks for what they know is already theirs in the field. The woman who learned to disappear energetically understood that her desires weren't random wishes or personal preferences. They were the field's way of calling her attention to aspects of herself that were ready to be expressed. Her desire for love was the field pointing her toward the love that already existed within her consciousness. Her desire for abundance was the field highlighting the infinite creativity and resources that were already available through her awareness. When she realized this, she stopped chasing her desires and started expressing them. She stopped trying to attract love and started being love. She stopped trying to manifest abundance and started embodying prosperity. She stopped trying to create opportunities and started recognizing that she was the opportunity the field had been waiting for. This is the ultimate secret that transforms everything. You are not trying to get something from the quantum field. You are the quantum field expressing itself through the unique focal point of your consciousness. Your desires are not separate from you. They are aspects of your consciousness that are ready to be fully expressed. Your dreams are not outside of you. They are dimensions of your being that are calling to be actualized. When you truly understand this, manifestation becomes less about creating something new and more about revealing what was always there. Less about becoming someone different and more about expressing who you always were. Less about changing your circumstances and more about aligning your frequency with the truth of your infinite nature. The quantum field doesn't respond to your requests because it doesn't see you as separate from itself. It responds to your frequency because your frequency is how it experiences itself through your unique perspective. When your frequency is clear, coherent, and aligned with your authentic nature, the field naturally expresses experiences that match that vibration. Not because you asked for them, but because you became the frequency that could receive them. The woman who learned to whisper to the universe discovered that her quiet authenticity was more powerful than any loud performance had ever been. When she stopped trying to convince others of her worth, she started embodying it. When she stopped explaining her dreams, she started living them. When she stopped performing her spirituality, she started experiencing it. This is the secret that changes everything. Your authentic frequency doesn't need to be understood by others to be effective in the quantum field. In fact, the purer your signal becomes, the less it will make sense to minds that are still operating from borrowed frequencies. And that's perfectly okay. The field recognizes authentic signals not by their logic, but by their coherence. If this understanding is touching something deep within you, if you can feel the truth of your own authentic frequency stirring beneath the layers of performance and conditioning, then I invite you to subscribe, not just to this channel, but to this frequency of authentic being. Subscribe to the choice to honor your true signal above all others. Subscribe to the courage to be yourself even when no one else understands. Because the more of us who are willing to broadcast our authentic frequencies, the more the collective field shifts toward truth, beauty, and genuine creation. The quantum field has been waiting for your authentic signal your entire life. It's time to stop performing for others and start being for yourself. It's time to discover the frequency that was always yours, waiting in the sacred silence of your own being. Your authentic frequency isn't just a concept to understand. It's a living reality to embody. And embodiment requires practice, not just in meditation or quiet moments, but in the midst of ordinary life. This is where the real transformation happens. Not when you're alone with your thoughts, but when you're navigating the world while maintaining your authentic signal. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to choose your frequency. When someone asks how you're doing, do you automatically perform positivity, or do you respond from your authentic state? When faced with a decision, do you choose based on what others expect, or do you listen to the quiet knowing of your authentic frequency? These micro-choices throughout the day either strengthen or weaken your signal to the quantum field. The field is constantly reading your frequency, not just during your spiritual practices, but in every moment of your existence. It's sensing whether you're broadcasting from authenticity or performance, from wholeness or lack, from presence or anxiety. And it responds accordingly, not to punish or reward you, but to mirror back the exact frequency you're consistently emitting. This is why changing your external circumstances without changing your internal frequency never works long-term. You might temporarily manifest something you want, but if your underlying frequency hasn't shifted, the old patterns will reassert themselves. The field will eventually reflect back the frequency you're actually broadcasting, rather than the one you're trying to project. The woman who learned to disappear energetically understood that true transformation required a fundamental shift in her base frequency, not just in special moments, but as her new normal. She learned to maintain her authentic signal even when others couldn't understand it, even when situations challenged her to return to old patterns, even when staying true to her frequency seemed more difficult than performing what others expected. This is where most people abandon their authentic frequency, when it becomes uncomfortable or inconvenient to maintain, when others push back against the new energy you're broadcasting, when staying true to your signal requires saying no to things you used to say yes to, or yes to things that scare you. But this is exactly when maintaining your frequency becomes most powerful. What's one thing you've been saying yes to that doesn't align with your authentic frequency? And what's something you've been avoiding that actually calls to your true self? Drop your insights in the comments. Your awareness might spark recognition in someone else who needs to hear it. The quantum field is testing your commitment to your authentic signal, not to make things difficult, but to see if you'll remain coherent under pressure. Every time you choose your authentic frequency over external expectations, you're proving to the field that this is who you actually are, not just who you're trying to become. But here's what makes this sustainable. Your authentic frequency actually requires less energy to maintain than any performance does. When you're broadcasting your true signal, there's no effort involved because you're not trying to be anything other than what you naturally are. The strain you feel when trying to manifest usually comes from the energy required to maintain a frequency that isn't authentically yours. This is why the most powerful manifestors often seem effortless. They're not working harder than everyone else. They're working from their authentic frequency where everything flows naturally. They've learned to align their actions with their true signal rather than fighting against it or trying to force outcomes from a frequency that isn't theirs. Your authentic frequency contains all the information the quantum field needs to create the experiences that match who you actually are. But accessing this frequency consistently requires what we might call frequency discipline. The commitment to choose authenticity over approval, truth over comfort, being over performing moment after moment after moment. But there's a deeper layer to this frequency discipline that most people never discover. It's not just about maintaining your authentic signal in the external world. It's about maintaining it in the privacy of your own mind. Most people think that as long as they're not performing for others, they're being authentic. But the quantum field reads the frequency you broadcast to yourself, and this internal frequency is often the most contaminated of all. How you speak to yourself when no one else can hear. The stories you tell yourself about what's possible or impossible. The unconscious agreements you make about your worthiness, your capabilities, your limitations. These internal conversations create a constant stream of frequency that the quantum field interprets as your true signal, regardless of what you're performing externally. The woman who learned to disappear energetically made a shocking discovery. Even when she was alone, even when she thought she was being completely authentic, she was still performing for an internal audience of inherited voices, cultural programming, and unconscious beliefs. She realized that true authenticity required cleaning up not just her external expression, but her internal dialogue. This internal frequency cleansing is perhaps the most challenging aspect of quantum alignment, because it requires becoming aware of thoughts and patterns that have been running automatically for years or even decades. It means catching yourself in the act of internal self-betrayal, where you dismiss your desires, minimize your capabilities, or talk yourself out of what you know to be true. Every time you think a thought that contradicts your authentic desires, you're broadcasting mixed signals to the field. Every time you tell yourself that something is impossible or unrealistic, you're contaminating your frequency with limitation. Every time you choose a story of lack over a story of abundance, you're tuning your signal away from what you actually want to experience. The quantum field doesn't distinguish between the frequency you broadcast externally and the frequency you broadcast internally. It simply responds to the dominant signal, the one that carries the most emotional charge and repetition. If you're performing confidence externally while thinking thoughts of doubt internally, the field will respond to whichever frequency is more authentic and consistent. This is why so many people can do all the right spiritual practices, say all the right affirmations, and follow all the right manifestation techniques, yet still struggle to create lasting change. They're broadcasting one frequency in their practices and a completely different frequency in their private thoughts. The field responds to the authentic signal, which is usually the internal one they're not consciously monitoring. True frequency discipline means becoming aware of every thought, every internal conversation, every unconscious story that doesn't align with your authentic desires. It means catching yourself when you slip into inherited patterns of thinking and gently redirecting your internal frequency back to what's actually true for you. But here's what makes this sustainable. When you align your internal frequency with your authentic desires, thinking becomes effortless. You're no longer fighting against your natural thoughts. You're allowing your consciousness to flow in the direction it wants to go. The resistance you feel when trying to think positive thoughts usually comes from trying to impose frequencies that aren't authentically yours, rather than discovering the thoughts that naturally arise from your true frequency. The woman who learned to whisper discovered that her authentic frequency had its own natural thought patterns, its own way of interpreting reality, its own perspective on what was possible. When she stopped trying to think herself into alignment and started feeling her way into her authentic frequency, the right thoughts began arising spontaneously. This is the difference between manufactured positivity and authentic optimism, between forced affirmations and natural knowing, between trying to think your way into a new reality and allowing your consciousness to expand into its natural state. When you're aligned with your authentic frequency, positive thoughts aren't work. They're the natural expression of your aligned state. But accessing this natural state requires something that most people resist: complete honesty about your current frequency. You can't shift what you're not willing to acknowledge. You can't clean up a signal you refuse to listen to. You can't align with authenticity while pretending you're already there. Most people skip this step because it's uncomfortable to recognize how much of their internal dialogue is based on fear, limitation, and inherited programming. It's easier to jump straight to positive thinking than to honestly assess the frequency they're currently broadcasting. But the quantum field responds to what is, not what you wish were true. The woman who learned to disappear spent weeks simply listening to her internal frequency without trying to change it. She became aware of the constant stream of thoughts and stories that were running beneath her conscious awareness. She noticed the subtle ways she talked herself out of her desires, the unconscious reasons she gave for why things wouldn't work, the inherited beliefs about limitation that she had never questioned. This listening phase is crucial because you can't broadcast a frequency you're not aware of. Most people are unconscious transmitters, sending signals they don't realize they're sending, wondering why the universe seems to ignore their conscious requests while perfectly reflecting their unconscious broadcasts. When you become conscious of your internal frequency, you gain the power to choose it deliberately. Instead of being at the mercy of inherited patterns and unconscious programming, you become the deliberate broadcaster of your own signal. This is when manifestation shifts from hoping something will work to knowing exactly what signal you're sending and why the field is responding the way it is. The internal work of frequency alignment is subtle but profound. It's not about forcing positive thoughts or suppressing difficult emotions. It's about becoming so clear about your authentic frequency that anything not aligned with it becomes immediately obvious and easy to redirect. This discipline doesn't require harsh self-monitoring or constant vigilance. When you're truly aligned with your authentic frequency, maintaining it becomes as natural as breathing. The effort you feel when trying to maintain high vibration usually comes from trying to broadcast a frequency that isn't authentically yours, rather than discovering and expressing the frequency that already is. This discipline isn't harsh or forceful. It's gentle but unwavering. Like a river that consistently flows in one direction, eventually carving through mountains, not through force, but through persistent, authentic movement. Your authentic frequency, maintained consistently, has the power to reshape your entire reality, not through struggle but through the simple persistence of being genuinely yourself. The field reads consistency over intensity. It's more responsive to a quiet, steady signal than to loud, sporadic broadcasts. This is why developing a sustainable relationship with your authentic frequency is more important than having peak experiences or breakthrough moments. The field trusts signals that show up reliably, day after day, regardless of external circumstances. As you begin to live more consistently from your authentic frequency, you'll notice that the universe starts responding to you differently. Opportunities will begin arising that match your true signal. People will start showing up who recognize and appreciate your authentic frequency. Situations will align with who you actually are, rather than who you've been pretending to be. But perhaps most importantly, you'll start experiencing a deep sense of coming home to yourself. The exhaustion that comes from constant performance will begin to fade. The anxiety that accompanies living from borrowed frequencies will start to dissolve. You'll discover that being authentically yourself is not only more powerful than any performance could ever be, it's also infinitely more peaceful. The quantum field has been waiting for you to stop trying so hard and start being so real. It's been waiting for you to discover that your authentic frequency is already perfect, already powerful, already exactly what it needs to create the reality that's truly yours. The moment you discover your authentic frequency, everything begins to reorganize around you. Not because you're forcing change, but because you're finally broadcasting a signal so clear, so coherent, so undeniably you that the quantum field has no choice but to reflect back experiences that match this truth. But here's the final piece that most people miss. Maintaining your authentic frequency isn't a personal journey. It's a gift to the collective field. Every person who has the courage to broadcast their true signal gives everyone else permission to do the same. Your authenticity doesn't just transform your own reality, it shifts the vibrational landscape for everyone around you. This is why the woman who learned to whisper to the universe found that her quiet transformation created ripples far beyond her personal experience. Friends began accessing their own authentic frequencies. Family members started questioning their own performances. Strangers seemed to relax in her presence because her energy gave them permission to stop trying so hard to be anything other than themselves. When you commit to your authentic frequency, you become a lighthouse in a world full of people who are lost in the static of borrowed signals. You become a reminder that it's possible to live from truth rather than performance, from being rather than trying, from wholeness rather than seeking. This is perhaps the greatest service you can offer, not your advice or your techniques, but your authentic presence. The quantum field responds to collective frequencies as well as individual ones. As more people access and maintain their authentic signals, the overall field becomes more supportive of authenticity, truth, and genuine expression. This creates an upward spiral where being real becomes easier for everyone because the collective frequency is shifting toward truth. This is why keeping your manifestations secret isn't about hiding from others. It's about protecting the purity of your signal until it becomes so strong, so coherent, so authentically yours that it can maintain its frequency regardless of external influences. It's about developing the internal strength to be yourself, even when the world tries to convince you to be someone else. Your authentic frequency is both your personal path to freedom and your contribution to collective evolution. Every moment you choose authenticity over performance, you're voting for a world where everyone gets to be genuinely themselves. Every time you emit your true signal, you're adding to the symphony of authentic frequencies that's slowly but inevitably transforming the entire planet. The quantum field isn't just responding to your individual frequency. It's orchestrating a collective awakening through the authentic signals of everyone who has the courage to be genuinely themselves. Your part in this awakening isn't to convince others or teach them techniques. Your part is simply to be so authentically yourself that others remember who they really are just by being around you. This is the ultimate manifestation. Not getting what you want, but becoming who you are so completely that everything you truly need naturally aligns with your reality. Not because you asked for it, but because you became the frequency that could receive it. Not because you performed worthiness, but because you embodied the truth that you were always worthy just by being yourself. The woman who learned to disappear energetically didn't vanish from the world. She vanished into her authentic self so completely that the world had no choice but to rearrange itself around her truth. This is what awaits you on the other side of performance, on the other side of borrowed frequencies, on the other side of trying to be anything other than exactly who you already are. The quantum field has been listening for your authentic signal your entire life. Today, you begin the journey of remembering how to broadcast it clearly, consistently, and without apology. Not for the sake of manifestation, but for the sake of coming home to the frequency that was always yours. In the sacred silence of your own being, your authentic signal is already broadcasting. The field is already responding. Your authentic reality is already emerging. All that remains is for you to stop talking long enough to listen. Stop performing long enough to be. Stop seeking long enough to realize you already are everything you've been looking for. Take a moment now to drop one word in the comments below that captures the frequency you're choosing to embody from this moment forward. Not a word that describes what you want to manifest, but a word that represents who you're choosing to be. Let this word be your energetic signature to the quantum field, your declaration that you're ready to stop performing and start being, ready to stop borrowed frequencies and start broadcasting your authentic truth. And if you feel the stirring of recognition, if something in you knows that this is the path you've been seeking, then subscribe not just to stay connected to this content, but to stay aligned with this frequency of authentic being. Subscribe to the courage to be yourself in a world that profits from your performance. Subscribe to the radical act of being real in a culture of artificial signals. Because the more of us who are willing to broadcast our authentic frequencies, the more the quantum field shifts towards supporting truth, beauty, and genuine creation. The more of us who choose authenticity over approval, the more the world reflects back a reality where everyone gets to be genuinely themselves. Your authentic frequency is not just your personal path to freedom. It's your gift to a world that desperately needs the courage to remember what it means to be real. The quantum field has been waiting for your true signal. Today, you begin to remember how to broadcast it. In silence, in secret, in the sacred privacy of your own authentic being, everything begins to change. Consider watching this video every morning for the next week to reinforce these frequency patterns in your consciousness. And if someone in your life is struggling to find their authentic voice, share this with them. When you share quantum consciousness concepts like these, you create an energetic ripple that expands collective awareness and accelerates manifestation for both of you. The universe operates through synchronicities when you align with your authentic frequency, and those synchronicities contain specific messages about your reality creation process. Understanding how to decode these synchronicities reveals exactly how your consciousness shapes your experience moment by moment, which is why exploring the secret message in synchronicities becomes essential for anyone serious about quantum manifestation.